We can learn information. We can be under an awareness, we can gain information, but our emotions can actually cause us to reject information, because if it does not agree with our core values, with the things that we believe about the world, we will reject sound doctrine, sound information, because our emotions cause us to feel something different than what we are receiving, cause us to feel something about the information we are receiving. It is dangerous. That information has to be untrue because it goes against my core beliefs about the world. This is why the mindset work is so important, but also the emotional work is equally important. Social and emotional intelligence gives us a practice to help us stay engaged with our values. If I say everyone is equally powerful, necessary, and sacred, that everybody has the same 24 hours in a day, and then I say to you, and the pay should be equal, there's some emotions that happen within you. Well, what about people who I have a college degree, and what about this and what about that? We start getting into our emotions, our feelings about what is fair and what is not fair, even though we just agreed about the other statement. What if we allowed ourselves to sit with the discomfort, but not in order to disregard something that we should do, but for us to see what socialization we need to unlearn. One of the things that we need to unlearn is striving for a status. Think about all of the status symbols that we have. Status of college degree. And yes, it is accomplishment, and there is in no way am I diminishing education. But there are also other jobs. There are other things, life experience, that we don't value as equally. And we value that. We value a college education because we know that you have to be of a certain status in order to get a college education. You have to have money, or your parents have to have money, or you took on a certain amount of debt in order to go to college. You went to classes every day, or maybe you didn't. No one ever asks, did you graduate summa cum laude, or did you have a 2.0 grade point average? After you graduate college, it doesn't matter. Nobody asks. And sometimes that'll get you a better job if you had a status of some kind that people respect. But does that negate the fact that brilliance could exist in a person whose family did not have the ability to send them to college? Does it negate the fact that some people are brilliant and that they have wisdom well beyond their years, that they have wisdom to offer the world that we're disregarding because of the vessel in which they have come in, or the status of the vessel that they have come in? So status is something that is really important to us as a society. We have so many of them. And sometimes we don't even understand that this label, this title, this category that we're being put in is a place of status or a lack of status. And that those boxes that we put people in keep them from receiving the respect and the value for their being that they deserve simply because they exist. I believe that people who are present on this planet, that everyone has a gift. Everyone has a unique reason for being. Everyone has something to offer and give to the world. In Diagra tribe, in Burkina Faso, Sobanfu Some is a spiritual teacher, spiritual mother. Though I've never met her, her teachings ring very deeply in my heart. And she talks about, in the community, everyone has a job. Everyone is valued equally. Your gift is known from the time that your mother is pregnant with you. The elders have a ceremony where they speak to the baby still in utero and ask them, why did you come here? What did you come to bring to this community? What are the gifts that you have to give? And they name the child based on what they receive in that ceremony. And then everything that they do when it comes to that child is supporting them in their destiny, in their purpose. How amazing would it be if we looked at children and we observed their natural talents, gifts, and abilities. And as a community, knowing that they are here to serve and be served, that we supported them in their natural talents, gifts, and abilities so that they could support the shared thriving of our community. What a way to rear children, but no, we put children in classes and we teach them all in the same way when some of them need other things. How are we not showing up with intention in community? How do we need to change how we do things so that we are supporting the shared thriving and we are supporting the individual as a part of our undivided whole, that we're valuing each individual and their gifts. We're not creating status so that some can be given more power than others. We are creating intentional, loving, supporting, and a thriving community. These are the things that I teach. These are the practices that we have not learned how to embody, or that we still have feelings about when it comes to why we should do this. So along with our values and social and emotional intelligence, which allows us to learn social skills that support equality and justice, it gives us a opportunity to commit to our values, make a commitment to our values, create our own personal mission and our vision for our life, know ourselves, know the things that we need to learn or unlearn, practice emotional regulation. How do we experience hard feelings but yet still process those feelings and make sure that our feelings are not taking us out of alignment with the practices of equality and justice? Those are so important. And then being socially aware. So this is a challenge that I see many people have, because they know that their emotions, when they're socially aware, when they see things in the world, it makes them feel a way. Oh, it's so depressing. It's so overwhelming. And I'm not saying that it's not. I'm not saying that it's not. It definitely is when we see suffering in the world. But if we are not socially aware, we will do things that are socially unaware. That is not intentional in community. We will create community that is socially unaware. We will make decisions from that place of our unawareness and our separation, our belief of separation from society, from the world. And that creates more of the chaos that we have already seen. That is actually the old way of being that we need to evolve from. We are unaware of how our choices affect that community. It's because we have not yet learned how to regulate our emotions. We have not yet learned how to process the things that we see and not let our emotions carry us away. We have to be the master of our emotions, of our emotional state. That is a part of self-mastery. When we learn how to master our emotional state, and this does not mean that we don't ever feel bad. This doesn't mean that we don't ever get angry. This doesn't mean that we don't feel all the range of emotions that humanity is meant to feel. It means we don't stay there. It means that we learn how to spiral up instead of spiral down. We spiral up into a more inspiring emotion. So when we see the suffering in the world and we say that's not right, when we see the suffering in the world and we say, this is my sibling, this injustice goes against the core beliefs of equality and justice that I have, I then process that emotion. I look at the behavior. I say, this is happening because this behavior is running rampant, or this emotion is running rampant. I see the cause of the separation. I see the cause of the injustice. And I don't focus on the person that is creating the injustice with their actions, with their emotions. Look at the behavior, and then I look inward. I look to see what that person is mirroring to me, to check myself, to make sure that none of that lives within me. And here's the thing, if you're seeing it, it exists within you. Maybe not at a 1,000, but maybe at a 1 or a 0.10. But it exists because the world is a mirror. As within, so without. As above, so below. And our goal is for the evolution of our humanity and the evolution of humanity as a whole. When we look at others and we push that behavior on them and we say it's them that is the problem, we have missed a very important and crucial step in our evolution. We have to see where that behavior lives within us so that we can remove it from the systems of our behaviors and we can become a purer vessel for equality and justice. When we remove that emotion or that trigger to that emotion that causes us to create injustice that we see in the world, we remove injustice from the world. So it's very important that we see, and it is very important that we reflect. That is how we lift our baseline. That is how we live in more integrity with our values, to see something in the world and to say, I don't want to see that because it makes me feel bad. And that affects how I show up in the world. That is to say that you do not have control over your emotions. You have not learned emotional intelligence. You have not learned how to process those emotions. And you're bypassing very important learnings to help us shift the world from what it is to what it should be. You are, in essence, ignoring the problem that is in the world and also that is within you. So we must learn how to process that. And like I said, looking at the systems of our behaviors, removing that, doing that very important personal work of inner justice is part of our evolution. Because then when we remove it from ourselves, we have the ability to understand how that still lives within others and how they show up. And it gives us the ability to not hate that individual, to not scapegoat that person or that individual, but for us to see the system that they are running, to understand the system of injustice that is running. And when we do that, we are actually inspired to replace that system with something that is in alignment with equality and justice, with the values. It is no longer about drawing attention to this person. It is drawing attention to a system change that needs to happen. This is a really powerful piece of our social justice work, and it's something that we have control over. Our actions, our beliefs, our behaviors that are in alignment or are resisting justice and equality. It is important for us to do that internal work of emotional intelligence and social awareness. And then finally, I'm going to group together 3 really important components, which is allyship, belonging, and restorative justice. Spirit gave me a curriculum to support people in learning these practices. Why is it important for us to learn practices as individuals? Because as we learn these practices as individuals, we have a community that we have influence over. When we are living these values out in our everyday life, in the places that we have influence, we are teaching, we are living models of a practice that will change the world. We are living models. And as people begin to observe us and see how these practices work and see how these practices create transformation in the ways that we live and work and play with one another, they will catch on. They will catch on. They will learn. And they will practice new ways of being. We must be intentional about this. One of the reasons why I am doing retreats, why I'm doing weekend deep dives, is to support this transformation the way that I know how, which is through practicing principles, not just talking about theories, but practicing ways of being, creating purposeful practices to help people be the change that they want to see in the world. This is my role. This is what I'm here to do. To anybody that I would say that feels stuck, that feels like I'm really scared about what's happening in the world and I want to do something, but I don't know what to do. Start with you. Start with you. Invest in your values. Invest in learning about yourself and seeing how you are a part of the tragedies that are happening in the world. But you can be a part of the healing as well. You don't have to remain in neutral. You don't have to be in a place of reaction that is inspired from someone else's action. You can take your own inspired action, which is to learn about yourself, to learn about the things that you still hold that support injustice and inequality. This is about you learning how to release the ways of being, the beliefs that we've been taught through our socialization that support injustice. You know, one of the things that I hear so frequently is, how did we get here? There are beliefs and behaviors that we have been taught or we've caught from society from the moment we drew our first breath. There are things that we just think is how life is supposed to be, and it's not. We have not been intentional as a humanity, and we've had many leaders come to show us, to tell us about the purpose of life. We still somehow think that it is all about us and for us to achieve the success that will make our life worth living. But what if what makes our life worth living is understanding that we are here to evolve so that humanity can evolve, and that our life is the life of humanity, is the life of the collective. They can't be separated, and we can't separate ourselves from it. That belief of separation is the thing that we have to heal. I want to invite you to check out my book, Healing Our History and Co-Creating a Culture of Oneness. You can find it on Amazon or anywhere that books are sold. It's a great introduction into finding your why in this work, being inspired, understanding that that's what we're here for, to heal what has been broken, to heal what humanity has not yet healed, and create a culture, a way of being that embraces one another, not only as equals, but as ourselves. I love you and have a great day.